Yeah, I have started recording. Now, Naved, whatever we have discussed in the primitive data type, what are the data like we have seen that okay, to give a little bit background, we need to know basics about Java language. And these basics, we need to know variables and data types in Java. We need to know operators in Java. We need to know looping and arrays in Java, how to use this feature. Okay. Now, when we are discussing variables and data types, right? We have um, two data type in Java. One is primitive data type, another one is reference or object data types. One is primitive data type, another one is reference or object data types. Okay. Now primitive in the primitive, right? In the primitive there are 8 primitive data types, right? Primitive is divided into 8 data types, but out of this 8, which one we have discussed that we need to know or we need to learn? Naved, can you explain? Integer, what do you use integer for? We use integer for full numbers. Full numbers, that is without any decimal point, right? Not for fractional, like, okay, minus 100, 100, 10,000, 5,000, not 5,000.25. Okay, so integer we use only for numbers, but what type of number? This regular number, not like point, fractional point. Yeah, then long we do not need to uh, know for testing. Float we will basically we need to know, but for testing, right, for our purpose we will not, overkill our brain by all of this. Whatever, like, to go move forward with our work, whatever we need to learn, we'll learn. And then we have learned, so we need integer. And then what about double? We need a double for fractional, like point 0.02. Mm-hmm. Okay, double is for what? Can you explain more? For like when we use point zero or like the double number. When we use double number, then we use double. Give me 1 second. One second. Okay, so here double, we use double um, for the fractional data, like, okay, 1,000.25, 10,000.25, for that type of information we use double. And then we need boolean. What is boolean for? Use boolean because the true or false, the function is true or false, to store true or false value, right? And then why do we use character? Character, we use the char. Mm-hmm. Like character value is the char. Why do we use character? For to store single character, and single character will be always in the single quotation. Can you see example? Char letter A. Okay, now in the from the, like, two types of two data types, primitive and reference. Out of primitive, there are 8 data types in primitive. Out of 8, how much? Out of 8, how much is what are the types you need to know? For the primitive, uh-huh, we learn integer, double, char, Boolean. Integer, so for numeric integer, double. For true false, we use boolean. What's the difference between float and double? Like both are for numeric. They work a little bit different way, but if you learn integer and double, we are good. Okay, but float and double they work similar way. Double can handle. Can you see? Float can have 32-bit data. I mean, it can go up to it. If I say simply, float can handle smaller float can handle smaller numbers, double can handle bigger numbers. Okay, go ahead. And character type, we use character type for what reason? Like single characters. Okay, now you come back to the reference data types. Reference data type, remember, when you have declared class, right? By class you can declare the object of the class. Is that correct? Object is a reference data type. You got it? For example, yeah, like let's say you declared a lot of classes, and from the classes you have created objects, right? Those objects are reference data type. Okay, and then if you take a look here, if you scroll down and you see hello world, if you want to store hello world, then you have to declare a variable string type, right? So string is a reference variable. Char value and char is char is a primitive data type. Char is a primitive data for single character. But when you put something in the double quotation, then it is a string. Reference type. Does it make sense? Okay. Scroll down. Okay. Click next. Okay. Now, so if you take a look here, can you see how you declare integer variable? Uh, can you see int abc? You are declaring three variables. You can store three numbers in the three variables. You see int a equal to 10, b equal to, so when you declare variable, no, you can assign value. When you declare, you can put it like it is showing int abc. You can declare in that way and put value later. And while you declare, you can put value as well. Okay, and then can you see double pi and they put fractional data? Can you see character? They declare a character variable a and they put character a in it. Okay, you understand now how you declare variable and purpose. Okay, scroll down. Now these two things. Can you see local variables? Can you see local variables? The word local variables. Okay, what is local variables, right? What is local variables? So that is what we are going to explain. Now to understand local variables, can you read the first line? Are declared in methods, constructor, or blocks. Local variables are declared in methods, constructors, or right. Local variables are declared in methods, constructors, or blocks. So if you take a look in the example below, can you on live demo? Live demo. Now here, if you execute, like can you see the execute button? Click on the execute button. Okay, now can you see puppy age is how much? 7. Puppy age is 7. So how is it working? If you take a look, what is the name of the class here? Test. Test. And what is the method that you have in the class, inside the class?
Integer.
What is the method? What are the methods that you have inside that class?
Uh, public method.
Mm-hmm. Public what? Mhm. So method, remember that we have discussed method. It will be
Or
starting with public and it will have a return type and then it will have a name and it will have the parenthesis, right? This is how you identify method. You identify method in that way. Public void, puppy age, and then can you see? No,
the parenthesis.
parenthesis. And then curly bracket, start curly bracket ends. So this is a method. Do you see any other method here?
One public statistic void.
Mhm. Public static void main. This is another method, right? There are two methods here. Now, do you see any variable declared here?
Integer variable.
Integer a is equal to 0. And then a is equal to s plus 7 and then they are outputting it. Now that integer variable they have declared inside a method. Is that correct? Inside a method. Do you have any variable that is declared outside of method? No. So if your variable is declared inside the method, then it is local variable because the variable that you have declared int a is equal to 0, you cannot, like, you can print it from inside that method but you cannot print it from main method. Can you see there is another method in line number 8? If you try to system out println is from that method, you cannot do that because you have declared that method inside the pop is method and it is local. It is not global. Does it make sense? Why you cannot use that is variable? Like if you press enter in line number, after line number 10, if you press enter, yeah, after line number 10, press enter and put system out println system.out.println println, and then let's say you want to print the variable age. Just type age inside the curly right now. Here, right here, if you run it, execute. Okay, can you see symbol variable age location class test one error? Can you see? Cannot run this because it is complaining about the variable age in line number 11. Can you see test.java 11 cannot find symbol? But when you are using it in line number 5, is it complaining? No. But when you are using it in line number 11, it is complaining. Why?
So what's the inside the variable we declare the age and the first variable the pub age. That's why we can print out.
We can print out. But let's say that if you press enter after line number 1, press enter, okay, declare a variable here int, let's say age 1, age age 1, age 1, just age 1 together, age 1, right? And then you put equal to age 1 equal to 11. Mhm. Now in line number 12, put age 11, age 1, sorry, age 1. Now you run it. Now it is complaining about println variable age1 cannot be referenced from static context, right? Now remember that um, if you want to that variable, if you want to use that variable, then you have to declare an object of that class. Do you understand this? Right? So what you do inside your main method, you have a class, you have an object that you have declared test, right? Can you see inside the main method, in line number 10, you have declared an object test, right? Okay, so if you want to call any variable from that class, you will have to use that object. So can you see in line number 12, instead of age1, put test dot age1. You have to call that by the object test dot age1 dot age1. Now you execute.
Uppercase or
Now test is object. You have to use object of that class. Now you execute it. Now can you see it is printing puppy age is 7, and then also it is, you are able to print age 1 variable as well. And it is, you have declared this one, although you, can you see where you have declared that age 1 variable in line number 2, and is it inside a method?
outside the
So
method.
outside the method. So if you declare any variable outside the method, then it is a global variable.
Any method.
Yeah, you can use it in any method. Okay. Now go back to the you know yeah. So you understand now what is local variable. So the thing is, after understanding, if you do not revise, I think I have discussed this these features multiple times, and if you do not revise, if I come to this after 2 weeks, you will never remember it, and we will be, every time we will be at the same point, we will be cycling. If I look at my recording, I will see the same topic I have discussed. It is there in the recording, but for some reason we are not moving forward that much, because seems like we are not able to invest time, or we are, for some reason we are not moving forward. So if you do not keep reading, basically we are not moving forward, it will not happen. Now, yeah, scroll down, let's go to okay, now you come here. Now age, we have already discussed this. Go, keep going. Instance variable, now you come to the instance variable. So they will be asking what is instance variable in the interview. Okay, now read the first line, what they are defining about instance variable.
It's declared in a class
Mm-hmm.
but outside the method,
Mm-hmm.
constructor or any block.
So instance variable are outside, it declares outside the method, outside of constructor and any block. So remember that variable int age1 that we have declared, it was outside of any method. So that's why that was a that was an instance variable. And what is local variable? The variables that inside the method, that those are local variable. Variables those you declare outside of any method, constructor or any block, those are
Instance variable.
instance variable. Now keep going down. So whatever I'm pointing out, every terms are important for interview, for your interview. Keep going down.
Respond.
Okay, take a little bit time. Right, are you getting these terms? Okay. Okay, are we able to move forward?
Was instant. Okay. So
Okay.
that one we learn outside the video.
Yeah,
Outside the
go to the
practice.
live demo of this one. Can you see how easy it is, like to learn? Like they are giving you to run your code online so that you can practice. So if you look for help, there are a lot of help available. It is a matter of do you want to take it? Okay, go there. So live demo, if you go live, oh,
My
okay,
laptop
yeah.
not responding properly. So that one is like the public string name outside the method.
Mm-hmm.
Private is private double salary outside the method.
Outside the method. Mm-hmm.
And then public employee string is outside. It's a method.
It's a method, yeah. It's a method.
Because it's a public employee. The employee is the name of the method.
So here, if you take a look, this is, does it have a return type in this method? No.
Return type.
What is the return type of this method?
Because it just declared string emp name.
So
But
is there any return type here? And
they don't put any name.
and then employee. Is it similar to anything?
Uh,
So if you take a look, employee. Nahid bhai, can you tell something about this employee? What is that? Is there any specialty about that?
okay. This is the inside variable visible characters of string names. Salary. আমি কি দেখতেছি? Just base. Let me see in my সার্ভারে এটা ইয়ে করছে আমার এখন আসতেছে
আপনার এখানেও আসতে প্রবলেম হচ্ছে?
cannot be reached মানে বড় সমস্যা এর জন্য বোধহয় বারবার এরকম মনে আসতেছে ছোট লেখা ভাই আমার একটু চোখে সমস্যা তো ছোট লেখা আমার পড়তে সমস্যা
ওকে ওকে
আমি তো সবসময় একটু বড় করে বলি কিছু করে
got it.
লোডিং ইস্যু আসতেছে না আমি তো এখন ক্লিকই করি নাই কিছু আর GNS problem একটু পরে আবার লোড হবে ধন্যবাদ কি আপনি দেখেন আপনি যদি
Let me see one second. Okay. Let me share. Um, okay. Yeah, I'm going to share. Give me 1 second. Can you see my screen? Okay. So here, this instance variable, we are saying, okay, these are class variable, which are not declared inside any method or any block or any constructor. And we are going to take a look at a live demo of this. Now, if you take a look here, this public employee, what is this?
And from the public employee, if you declare like this, you can call another class of the same methods. This method, this variable.
So is it a variable, this one?
Actually, I think this is only level. It's a method.
এখন কি দেখতে পাচ্ছেন? Is it clear now?
Public this method, and this is method public employee and the parentheses and inside the parameter there is a string empty name.
So if this is a method, what is the return type of this method?
This is public. You can
Public is access specifier. Public, private, protected, these are access specifier. Like if this method will be available from outside of, like this. But is there any return type? We are talking about return type.
not know return because we don't have the void. If you put the void, then it will return.
I mean, so if we do not return anything, then we put void. If we put integer, then we return integer type data. Now, do you have anything here in this method? No. And do you remember if a method doesn't have any return type, what type of method it is? If we do not have return type, then what type of method it is? No, it is constructor. It is constructor. Can you see employee? Class name is employee, and similar, the name is same, and it doesn't have return type, right? That is what we are talking about. It is constructor. It is constructor. This is a constructor method. Constructor method will not have a return type. Okay.
Yeah, I looked at the class name in the same. That's why.
Mhm. So
Yeah.
what? And then what type of constructor it is? Parameterized constructor. It is not a default constructor. Does it make sense? So what it is doing, there is an instance variable name. It is assigning the name of the variable, instance variable in the constructor. Does it make sense? And then we have a method here, salary. Can you see there is a private variable salary, and we are assigning the value of the salary. And then we have a print employee. Now this method, what is the return type of this method?
Print out the name and the salary.
What is the return type of this method? What is the return type? Void. Can you see here public, and after that there is a void. Void means it is not going to return anything. Is there any return statement here? No. So this method, what it is doing, it is just printing the name and salary. And then in the main method, we are declaring an object of that class, and then by the object we are calling set salary, 1,000. Can you see when you are calling set salary with 1,000, then this method will be called, and in the salary it will be putting 1,000. And then can you see emp1 dot print emp when you call this? So name, we haven't assigned any value to name, but remember when you have declared object, you have supplied Ransika. This Ransika will be stored in name. So it will be printing name as Ransika and salary as 1,000. You got it how this is working? If you execute, can you see name Ransika, salary 1,000? Does it make sense to you? Do you understand this, what we are doing here?
Right. This when you put the public in the main plus normally you put this public static void main. So what's static stand for?
So when, can you see main method is always static. Main method means here inside this class, how many method do you have?
Two.
What are these three methods?
So we have an employee, and we have a set salary,
Mhm.
and we have a in EMP.
Mhm. And also this main is also a method inside that.
We use basically with other class and using this method, but here we use together. That's why it's another method instead.
Yeah. Now, can you see when you are trying to use print amp or set salary, you have to declare an object of this class, and then by that object you have to call those methods. Is that correct? Okay. Now, but main method, your main method is a special method. It is static. Static means
It's like constant. It's always
no. Static means it is a class method. It is not a, like for this method you do not have to declare an object of the class to call it.
Oh, now I got it. So if you're trying to recall from other class or other method, you don't need to like declare an object for this method.
For this, you can call this method by employee, by the class name. You do not have to create an object.
Comes we have to call or we have to normally connect with from the main class.
Yeah, main class. But
in project we have to connect with this main class. Main method with some other class, something.
And yeah, here if you take a look in this particular case, we have only one class. Inside the same class, we have the main method. We can write our code in that way, and from the main method, we can create the object of that class. Main method is a special method. You got? So you can have main method inside a class, and you can create the object of that class from the main method. You do not have to have another class. Main method is a special method. You can use it in that way. Got it? Is it clear?
Okay, one more question, mate. In the print that method, put the public void. Void means we're not returning anything.
We are not returning anything, yeah.
And when you make it public without void, then this method we can call from any other class, right? I mean, under the same package.
What is that? When you call what? When you say public void, it is not returning public. When you say public, then you can, this method is public. You can call this
from any other class.
Any other class, yeah. This is a public method. All the other classes will be able to see it.
So when it is like a private, it will be only accessible in this class, not any other class.
Not in any other class. But private, right? Let's say that. Let me take this. Let me take this example to our Eclipse.
example, like this kind of example, if you show us in any kind of website, like I know the public, let's say public employee, so I can use any content of the website that gonna be used for any class or any site.
Yeah, if it is public, right, then you, like in your project, you can call it from any other class, I guess. Clips to give you to discuss further on this example.
And why do we declare like integer or double this kind of method? That is gonna we're gonna return only this kind of variable, this kind of method.
Yeah, if you say public double, then you will be returning double type data from it.
So you have to move to double well, like so it's $1,000 or something. But it's also the
See here, see here. Here are you talking double salary? Yeah, double salary. It is integer value, but if it is like if it is a double variable, you store both and double in this. Can you see when you are printing, since you have stored it integer value into a double type variable, can you see it has added dot zero at the end? It is like because you have stored integer data inside the double, it will always be converted. Now you come, yeah. Now you come to that. Uh, let me show you here. Yeah. Okay. So if you take a look, remember that we were discussing this. Can you see this method? We are saying double calc result, and can you see number one and number two? Number one and number two both are double type value, double type variable. Now, when you are adding number one and number two, the result will be double, right? And when you are returning it, you have to put here double, right? Because you are returning a double type data. Now, when you are calling it from your main method, right? Can you see? When you are calling it from your main method, can you see it will be printing the result here? It will be printing the result because you have returned from that method. Does it make sense what return type does?
but if you put here void, then it can be
If you put void here, let's say if you put void here, right? First of all, then it will complain. If you put, you cannot use return statement, right? And also it will be complaining here. Can you see? Because you have void. So when you are putting this in your println statement, that means you are expecting that something will be coming here, not bringing anything there. So that's why it is complaining. So that's why you have to bring that double. Okay, all right. So now let me bring that other example. Okay, that we are looking at it. Let's say that project, and I'm going to name it as Java project. I'm going to name it as understand static. Okay, now let's say finish. Let me close this. Okay, let me create a package here. let's say my my package, finish, and inside the package I'm going to create a class. Actually, um, class, I'm going to name it as employee. Okay, finish, and then here I'm going to say test it. Okay, now let's take a look here. Can you see, if you put here, let's say emp1 dot emp1 dot name, can you see, you can see, if you put a dot you can see name, right? You can see name, you can see that is, can you see, when you put name it will not complain anything. Let's say you can put a system out println statement, system dot out dot println, right? You can do that, but let's say that if you come here, if you put dot salary, right, dot salary, now this dot salary, if you execute it, let's do an execution. Okay, it is printing. Can you see, since this particular main method, this particular main method is inside the same class, can you see, we have employee class, and inside the employee class we have employee, although this is private, right, we are able to display it from here. Got it? Why? Because the main method is inside the same same class, employee class, right? Now I'm going to separate the main method. Let's see how it happens. I'm not going to keep the main method here. I will be declaring the object. Let me copy this code. You saw that it is working fine, right? Okay. Now,
not open new class.
now, can you see that? Uh, can you see that here when I run this? When I run this, it prints. If you make it a little bit bigger,
Salary.
yeah. Can you see? Because you have called that employee method, inside the employee we are printing name equal to Ransika, salary equal to this, and because we are printing this, it is printing in that way. Now I am going to remove this main method from here, and then I'm going to create another class, new CLS. I'm going to have a main method inside there. Can you see, I have created a colors class, and I'm going to put that code here. Now can you see it is complaining about salary? It is not complaining about name, but it is complaining about salary. Why? It is complaining about salary because salary is private. You cannot call private variable from another class. Got it? Can you see, we are in a different class. We can call only public one, but not the private one. Does it make sense why it is complaining? Okay.
Perfect. So I just change it instead of private to public.
Then we can call it. Now let's understand one more thing. Let's say that we are going to have another method here, public static my static method, and that static method will do something. That static method actually we have to give a return type. Let's say I'm not going to return anything, and in the static method I'm going to print something like this. Okay, let's say my name is, and then I'm going to put a space here, and then I'm going to say here, and my salary is plus salary. Okay, this salary here cannot make a static reference to a non-static field salary. Now it is complaining. Can you see that this is a static variable, right? Can you see this is a static variable? So from the this is a static method. Can you see this is a static method? So if you want to, let's say that, so the problem is regarding that, and then we are going to say static. Okay, now can you see that there is no complaint, right? So if you come here, can you see that what is your class name here? What is the class name? Right? Now, by employee without declaring any object, right? You can you see, by using the class name, if you put dot, can you see that my static method is coming, but set salary print emp is not coming. Can you see that? But static method is coming. Static method, if the method is static, then you can call it by the class name. You do not have to declare an object. Can you see? To call set salary, to call print emp, we have to declare object for sure, right? But that my method, we are able to call that my method by the class name without declaring any object.
Because it's
No, because it is a static. Because this method is a static.
Why not we call all the method with the static?
Yeah, there is a problem. We cannot declare everything static because there are few problems. That's why we do not declare everything static. Static only we declare if we so this static method, we call this static method as a property of the class, not the object, right? Whereas this one is not static, this is the property of the object, right? But this static method is belongs to the class itself. You do not have to declare an object. Does it make sense why we use static and how it is different from the normal method?
By setting a method, actually, if you like, even we return the void or static, so why we can make it like public static and the method name like that
Yeah.
without, we can make it like public static and the method name.
No, you cannot.
We cannot do that.
You have to have return type.
That's that was the question. That's why I thought if no return, then we can call it from other like package or not. That was my question. But if you put the return no void, no return, then we can do it.
Okay, so here you understand what is the purpose of this static, right? If it is static, it becomes the property of the class. You do not have to declare object. Just if you know that, that will work. Server.
I understand that. So we do not have to, if it's static over there, we don't need to, that method, we don't need to declare any object by the class, we can call it.
Yep. And if it is private, you saw that it is not accessible from other class. Where it is, if it is public, it is accessible from other class. Does it make sense? So if it is private variable only corresponding methods in the class can use the private variable. Any it will not be able accessible from other method outside of this class. Does it make sense?
Private is only allowed to only specific is inside the class.
Yeah.
It can be allowed.
Yeah.
Okay. But other class is not because it's not a public.
Yep. Okay. Now let me go back. So this all of this static that we are discussing, it is important for your interview. We are declaring constructor, it is important for your interview. We are declaring methods, everything is important for your interview. Just keep in mind that. Okay. So up to this, do you have any question? No. So we have declared today two types of data type: primitive data type and uh, reference data type. In primitive data type, there are 8 different data types in primitive. Out of those 8, we have learned integer, double, character, and boolean. These 4 types. Integer we use for to store full numbers like 1000, 2000, 1025, not like 1000.25. No, not fraction. Double we use it for fractional numbers like 1000.50, like this. Okay, double can store bigger numbers. And then we use character for single quotation, single character, and single characters normally are inside quotation. We have used boolean we use it for true and false. Okay, so these are the things that we have learned from primitive data type. Then we have learned reference data type. Reference data types are object. Like when you have a class, you can declare object. So object is a reference data type. Then we have learned string data type. String data types are reference data type. String data types are what you put in the double quotation, and it is a sequence of alphanumeric. Okay. Then we have learned local variables. Local variables are declared inside the method. Inside the method, and um, it is only accessible from that method. We have learned instance variable, which we declare not inside any method or constructor or any block, and it we call it instance variable. Okay, and then we have learned static method, static variable. So static methods or static variables are property of the class, not property of the object. Static method you can call by using the class name without declaring any object. Does it make sense? This few definition, everything is important for your interview. Yeah.
Okay, if we want to call the static variable from the other class.
Yeah, yeah. So if you take a look, let me bring this. So if you come here,
then also we can call from the class.
yeah, yeah. So if you come here, right, can you see static my method? Now, if you remove this and if you put a dot here, can you see? You can see three things. One is that name. You can see that name. You can see that my method. Can you see that name? You can see that my method. If you go back to your method, can you see that name? The way you have declared, the name is a static variable. Can you see? That's why you can see it. Although salary is a static variable, but you cannot see it because salary is private. Make sense? Okay. Is it not interesting if you want to understand?
It's more understandable.
Okay. So in this case, what I will ask from you, I will ask from you that you write programs by using all of these variables. You write programs.
These are one is double.
Yeah, one is float, one is boolean, one is character, one is string, right? Like this. And then we have learned static variable and static method. We have learned um, local variables, instance variables. So you write methods explaining this. Like, can you see? You put comment like this. Okay, this is a local variable. This is a instance variable. You put comment so that you understand. Okay, I hope that you will be able to prepare, few.
All these like these methods with the variable with the printed statement, then if we run them, we can understand, okay, this is how I start.
Yeah, so the only thing, Nahid bhai, that programming, if you do not practice, it will not happen. You have to practice, you have to write so many examples.
I don't know. I can actually. I got still sometimes I got this public and void, the void public, or what is that? One more time is the void. Sometimes we run with only void.
Mhm. Yeah, so let's say if you do not put public, right? Public, public specifies, okay, what is the access level. If you do not give anything, we have discussed this one as well. If you do not give anything public or private, then it is default. When it is default, then you can call this method from the, like, from another class, but that class will have to be from the same package. Different package, you cannot call it. Okay, if, like, you can have multiple packages, but if the method is default, you cannot call this method from another package.
But you can call inside the package.
Yeah, inside, like if you have a class inside the same package, then you can call them. Does it make sense?
We try to write down whatever we learn, like the public class and write on the teacher.
Mm-hmm.
It is. We can do that.
Very good. So I will expect that at least 10 example you will be writing and you will be able to display, and you will be coming in the next class in prepared in that way. Now, are you inputting your time in the document?
The time was when I finished like
Let
some
me stop
like
recording.
from like maybe crime or something, and I like that time I just end up when immediately
Let me stop.